With mortgage interest rates around 7% right now, you hear a lot of people saying, well, at least it isn't at 18% like it was in 1981. I love a good trip down memory lane, so let's look at who were buying houses in 1981 versus now. A lot has changed. Hey everybody, I'm Melanie Atkinson, realtor with Smith & Associates in beautiful Tampa, Florida. Today we are going back in time to 1981, the year of the royal wedding. Ronald Reagan was sworn in as president, MTV was launched, the US found itself in a severe recession, and I started kindergarten. We all know that it's tough out there for homebuyers right now, especially first-time homebuyers. The internet is already full of affordability comparisons between homebuyers of the past to homebuyers of the present. So I wanted to go in a different direction and find out who was successfully navigating the challenges of buying a house in 1981 and how does that compare with buyers now. I chose 1981 for this comparison because that is when interest rates hit their historical highs of over 18%. We were also in a recession and unemployment was over 7%, so home buyers had challenges back then too. That is certainly not to discount today's challenges because affordability and lack of inventory is a very big deal. The National Association of Realtors releases a profile of home buyers and sellers every year, and there is some super interesting info in them. That's where I got all of this data from, and I will put the links in the notes below. Let's get into it. I'm sure everybody has heard someone say, back in the day, I bought my first house when I was 21 years old. I think statements like that make people feel kind of bad if they're still saving for a house in their 30s. So what was the median age of a first-time homebuyer in 1981? 29 years old. Now that was way older than I actually expected it to be. And what was the median age for a first-time homebuyer in 2022? 36 years old. That's right, you are not behind in life. Everybody is taking more time before they buy their first home. Next, let's look at what percentage of buyers were first-time home buyers in the respective years. In 1981, 44% of all home buyers were first-time home buyers, and in 2022, that percentage dropped to just 26% of buyers. That is a huge 18% decline. I'm sure that decline can be explained in large part by affordability issues, but I am also curious if there's a shift in society where home ownership isn't as desired as it used to be. Maybe people want more flexibility in their living situations. People are also starting families later in life, which is when a lot of people choose to buy homes. If you have other theories, I'd love for you to drop them in the comments. Now let's look at relationship status. I found these really fascinating, although not terribly surprising when I thought about it. These numbers take into account all home buyers, both first-time and repeat buyers. In 1981, 73% of all home buyers were married. And in 2022, that percentage dropped to 61%. Now these numbers made sense to me. I would have expected a pretty significant drop in percentage of married buyers because marriage rates in general have been on the decline. When you look at unmarried couples who bought homes, they made up 6% of the home buyer pool in 1981 and increased to 10% in 2022. Again, that totally makes sense. A lot of people are choosing not to get married today, but do want to live together. So what about the single people? Let's do single men first. In 1981, they made up 10% of home buyers. In 2022, they made up 9%, a little bit of a decline. And single women, in 1981, they made up 11% of home buyers, which I actually thought was pretty high. In 2022, they made up 17% of home buyers. That is a nice 6% increase, ladies. I won't comment too much more on those. Seems like a bit of a loaded topic, but I would love to hear your thoughts. This next one had the biggest disparity. In 1981, the median age for a repeat homebuyer, meaning every other buyer except for first-time homebuyers, was 36 years old. In 2022, the median age for a repeat buyer was 59 years old. Now think about that for a second. The median is the middle number of a range. That means that half of repeat buyers in 2022 were over the age of 59. Now, I love my baby boomer clients. You guys know who you are. Please forgive me for pointing this out, but I have to. The youngest boomers turned 58 in 2022. So it is not hard to see how lopsided home buying has been. Boomers made up just 20% of the population last year, but almost half of the repeat home buyers. And why that happened is easily explained. They had the financial ability to buy homes. A lot of them were longtime homeowners who were able to cash in equity they had in their current home to buy the next one. They have also had way more time in the workforce to save money, and a lot of them are at that perfect retirement age, so they are transitioning. I know that the generation battles are hot now, and as a typical Gen Xer, I am not looking to stir things up, but I will watch the battle from a safe distance. One last comparison I will give you is the amount of people that finance their homes. Now remember that interest rates were over 18% in 1981, and still 93% of all home buyers got financing. Man, those amortization schedules would have been really hard to look at. In 2022, the number of home buyers that got financing was only 79%. And rates were low in the first half of the year, so I actually would have expected that to be higher. But then I remembered that we had tons of cash buyers in the market, especially large corporate buyers and those who had sold previous homes for a large profit. I always enjoy looking back at the past to give present circumstances more perspective. I hope you enjoyed this rundown, and if you aren't already a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. And if you're looking for something else to watch on this channel, I'd love for you to see my mid-year rundown on the Florida housing market. And if you're looking to buy or sell in the Tampa area, please reach out to us on our website. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.